Saturday morning, and it's time to kick off the Experts program here on Power Talk Radio, 1460 and 101 FM. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us once again. Luis, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. Know you're enjoying a visit with your family down in Florida, but appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here. We always talk about lots of different areas of technology, and sometimes, though, we don't get as much into the nuts and bolts of the hardware, but that's very, very important. And I've been hearing about a global chip shortage, computer chip shortage, that's been talked about for the last few months, and it really is kind of a big thing. I know like most of us don't pay any attention to what is inside the devices that we use, but without those chips, computers can't run, and this is even impacting Detroit and other automakers elsewhere. But what do you know about this global chip shortage, and why do we have a global chip shortage?
We do have a global chip shortage, and it's probably going to last through this year into next year. And the reasons that it exists are they're varied. A lot of things coming to a head all at once. For example, the pandemic, the result of the pandemic was that a lot of people who couldn't spend money otherwise, you couldn't travel, you couldn't do things that you normally would do, were buying up a lot of electronics. We're basically upgrading their homes, if you will, so that they can, at least if they're hunkered down and having to work from home and have the kids homeschooled, then they were going to upgrade their systems. So there was this huge demand on things like TVs and webcams and all these things that require chips, that require semiconductors. And so there was this massive growth in demand, but supply was being impacted because of things like the tariffs on Chinese imports. And, the Chinese manufacturers were pivoting away from supplying the U.S. to other countries. At the same time, a lot of companies in the U.S. that bought chips from China decided, hey, we're going to move those factories to Vietnam and to Taiwan and other places so that we can avoid the tariffs. So all this stuff just came to a head at once, and it resulted in this massive shortage of chips that you said, is impacting even Detroit. We don't realize how much technology goes into the manufacturing of vehicles. Everything from the navigation system to the brakes, the engine, all these things are now really dependent upon computer chips. And Detroit has had to slow down the manufacturing of vehicles because they too are being impacted.
Does this affect the electric car makers more so than, say, people making gas and diesel vehicles? I mean, they both need computer chips, but the electric vehicles would probably have more computer technology in them.
Yeah, I'm sure that they do. And that's one of the reasons why Tesla, for example, decided to build a factory in China to supply the Chinese market, because they wanted easier access to that kind of technology. Whereas here in the U.S., they have a factory up in Northern California. They have another one in Texas that they're building, but those require imports and they just don't have the capacity for it. And a lot of companies are responding by investing in creating new factories. Intel, for example, is going to invest close to $12 billion in 2 new factories that they're going to build in Arizona. They're going to invest another $5 billion in Northern California outside of Sacramento, where they already have a factory to expand that one. So there's this inshoring effect of all of this, where we're starting to realize as a nation that we're utterly dependent upon the supply chain that is controlled by other countries. And in good times, it works flawlessly, but in bad times, it can create a lot of bottlenecks that impact consumers, the government, all sorts of people. So you're going to start seeing more and more of that coming back to the United States in manufacturing, and that'll be a good thing for our industries.
I note here that Apple's iPhone 12 Pro came 3 weeks late because of this, and then Samsung might skip the launch of its next Galaxy Note smartphone because they can't get enough chips.
Yep, absolutely. And consumers are going to start feeling this. When you go to the store, we've gotten used to being able to just jump over to Walmart or Costco or Best Buy and pick up whatever we need when it strikes our fancy. And we're going to find ourselves going to these stores and looking for things and going, hey, I need a webcam. And they'll say, sorry, we don't have any.
Right.
Or, hey, I want to get a PC. And they're going to say, yeah, PCs are in tight demand and then PC prices are going to go up. That's inevitable.
Well, I would guess that second market sellers on eBay are going to profit handsomely from this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to find a way to make a little money on the side doing this sort of stuff. So I expect that there'll be winners and losers like always.
And if you have a telephone, like your cell phone breaks, you're going to look at possibly, well, maybe I should take it to one of these places that fix cell phones, or you might go online and buy a remanufactured phone, or refurbished, I should say, and you'll probably pay a lot more for it than you normally would.
Yeah, that's the one thing we're telling our clients is if you have a plan to replace PCs or laptops, do it now rather than waiting, because we think the bottlenecks will continue to grow and the shortages will continue to grow, and it's going to be harder to find PC replacements 4 months from now than it is today.
It's like going out and trying to buy a new catalytic converter these days. You've probably heard the stories about catalytic converter thefts that go on all across the nation, quite a bit here in California. And a few years ago, I had to buy a new catalytic converter, $145 or $150 is what it was. I had to buy a new one a month ago, $350 for the very same one.
Wow.
Now, that's because of a shortage of the precious metals that go into it and also the greater risk and everything like that. But there's also a precious metal shortage, and a lot of that goes into the manufacture of semiconductors and goes into the manufacture of high technology, and there's a shortage in that area as well. And so we've seen a rise in prices of a lot of products.
Yep, and that will continue. You know, inflation is a real thing. We enjoyed a really good period of time here with very low inflation, but I suspect that 2021 and 2022 will see prices going up in a lot of different areas.
All right. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us today here on Power Talk Radio online. It's alvareztg.com, at AlvarezTG. That's the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-TEAM. That's 866-784-8326.